Title: The Flicker. Emily was never one to shy away from a good horror movie. Growing up, she spent countless nights binge-watching every slasher film and ghost story she could get her hands on. But this Halloween weekend was different. She had finally convinced her friends, Aaron, Mia, and Lucas, to join her for an all-night marathon of their favorite films under the guise of a legendary horror spree. The video rental shop was having a sale on old VHS tapes, and Emily had stocked up on classics. Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, and some cult classics sprinkled in for good measure. Armed with popcorn, blankets, and triple portions of soda, they huddled in Emily's basement, surrounded by dim lighting and the flickering glow of an old television. As the clock struck midnight, Emily pulled out the last rental, a little-known gem called Reality Shift. The premise seemed innocent enough. Characters from various horror films spill into reality when someone watches their story. The friends laughed it off, thinking it was just a cheap gimmick to lure them in. But as the tape began to spin, they felt an unexpected chill ripple through the air. The screen distorted, colors bleeding into one another, and what started as an eerie atmosphere quickly turned into something far more sinister. With each frame, the lines between their world and the fictional realm began to blur. Characters from the movies emerged, their twisted features too realistic and disturbingly alive. It didn't just happen on the screen anymore. The shadows in the basement stretched and curled like fingers, reaching for something unseen. "Is this part of the movie?" Lucas asked, his voice shaky, as Freddy Krueger's clawed hand slashed through the screen, revealing a significant crack that shimmered with an otherworldly glow. "No way, it can't be real," Mia squeaked, her wide eyes fixed on the flickering image. As if answering her, the characters began to step out, one by one. Michael Myers, ghost-faced killers, and terrifying spirits emerged into the basement, their sinister smiles broadening like Cheshire cats. Emily's heart hammered in her chest. "Shut it off! Shut it off!" she screamed, reaching for the ancient remote control, but the TV had a mind of its own. It glowed brighter, the screech of the static growing unbearable, almost as if it relished the fear cascading from the group. As the characters stepped fully into this world, the room turned icy cold. Aaron, frozen in horror, pointed to a figure emerging from behind the couch, a wretched ghost with pale skin and hollow eyes. It glided closer, whispering incoherently, its breath turning the air thick with despair. In a moment of panic, Emily lunged toward the TV, clutching the remote like a talisman. "We have to go," she shouted. But the TV was their prison. The characters moved with purpose, creeping closer as the shadows congealed, blocking any attempt at escape. Lucas bolted for the stairs, but before he took a step, a shadowy arm reached out from the void, wrapping around his ankle and pulling him backward. He screamed, echoing throughout the basement, swallowed by the horror surrounding them. "Run!" Mia yelled, and they tore toward the only exit, the stairs leading up to safety. But Emily was paralyzed, entranced by the sights, the sounds, and the malevolence that was unseen but tangibly felt. The shadows thickened around her, tethering her to the ground. "This isn't how it's supposed to be," she shrieked, as Michael cocked his head, his masked face looming closer. Suddenly, the TV flickered violently, each frame distorting further into grotesque images of her friends. Aaron and Mia were already halfway up the stairs, their shapes merging with flashing lights, screams of terror blending harmoniously with the film replaying. If the horror movies were coming to life, it meant the characters were hunting, in a world where reality had already lost. Summoning every ounce of her will, Emily sprinted toward the screen. "We need to finish it. It's the only way." She felt her heart race as she lost herself in the action, pointing the remote at the TV that was now reeling out all its phantoms. With a final push, she hit the eject button, and the characters let out a collective roar, a sound that reverberated through the room like thunder. One by one, they were sucked back into the VHS, their monstrous laughter echoing as the barrier began to seal. They tried to claw their way out, but Emily didn't stop. She pressed harder, her fingers trembling as the screen began to melt away into darkness. With a final pop and a flash, the basement fell silent. Emily found herself gasping as the TV ceased its chaos, the video rewinded to the very start. The couch was empty, the air still, as she glanced around in disbelief. Had it really just happened? Hey! A voice called from the top of the stairs, familiar and comforting. It was Aaron, peeking down, a bewildered look on his face. What just happened? Putting her hand on her beating heart, Emily exhaled a sigh of relief. Nothing. It was just a movie. But deep down, they all knew they had scratched the surface of something terrifyingly real, a world where fiction could spill over and devour. After all, they weren't just friends watching horror films. They were now part of an unholy pact with the shadows that flicker between the screens and the world they knew. And somewhere, deep in the cursed static, monsters waited patiently for their turn to escape again.